It's finally happened. I've got the Mizuno metalwoods in for testing. So today I've got the Mizuno ST-Z driver and 3-wood to test out. Now I've got these both set up in my specs. It's got the hazardous smoke shaft that I normally use, so I'm going to be really interested to see just how these perform. So I'm going to start with the driver first. This is actually one of two new models, and the Z out of the two is designed to be more lower spinning but also very stable. They also have a ST-X offering in the line, which is designed to be a bit more draw bias, so definitely go check that out if that sounds like something you need help with. Now for me with this, I'm really interested to see just how much my spin is lower with this and if it is manageable for me, because I'm not necessarily someone who spins it loads, but I'm also really interested to see just how stable it is and what the forgiveness is like there. Now over the ball, I really like the way this sits. I would say if anything for me, the club face does look slightly open, but I don't really mind that. I think it has a really classic shape and styling. I really like the black gloss on the top of the crown, but also there's quite a lot of texture here, and it's shaped really well, so you get this kind of alignment strip at the front, which I definitely like. I actually caught that a little toey, but it's still flown a long way. That felt really nice, and it definitely had a higher ball flight than I would have necessarily expected from kind of a low spin model. Oh, I struck that good. These are nearly flying on the green at 250, which is definitely good for distance. Although last year, the Mizuno did really well in terms of distance in my best drivers test, so I'm not really surprised about that. Still felt like I struck that nice, but it came out a bit lower. So I'd say so far I'm definitely noticing a little bit of inconsistency in terms of height. I definitely feel like there's quite a bit of forgiveness there though, if you don't quite strike it out the middle. The dispersion has been ridiculously consistent with this so far. That felt really nice. So as I expected, this performed really well on distance. I averaged out at 234 yards, and to be honest, if that was my average carry out on the course, I would be really happy. Now my longest shot flew out at 244, which is definitely a very long drive for me. I had a few that dropped down in the mid-20s, but that was really more if I didn't quite catch it out of the middle, and I think that's still really a decent carry for your bad shot. My dispersion was also really impressive here, with my worst shot only finishing 23 yards off target. Now even on really tight courses, these are going to be pretty near the fairways. Overall I'd say this was quite easy to control. I felt like I could hit my natural shot shape, which is that nice little draw. I would say though in terms of height, this was a little bit inconsistent, but I think that does come down to the spin, which we saw was a little bit low, about 2000. Now my gamer shaft here is a low spin shaft. I don't usually use this in a low spin head, so I think the two of them combined is definitely why the spin number is a little bit lower here, and I think I could honestly get that up if we change the shaft a little bit in a custom fit. Aesthetically, this is a really great looking club, so I'm really pleased the data backed this up in terms of performance. I mean, I've not had many drivers that I've managed to carry 244 this year. Right, let's go see if the 3-wood is just as strong in terms of performance. Okay, visually this is literally just a small version of the driver. Literally every detail is identical, other than the obvious fact that it is smaller, and we do see full face grooves here, which we didn't have on the driver. But again, I really do like the way this looks. Now over the ball, lots of people in my household have said they think this sits slightly flat at address, but for me that's a visual I prefer. I usually do have my clubs slightly flat, so I actually really like the way this sits behind the ball. But if you're someone who typically has something more upright, it might not be for you, although you can adjust this by 3 degrees on the hosel, so not the end of the world, you can always move out of that standard setting. Trajectory is definitely coming out a little bit low, but I really like the way this feels off the face. That was a really solid strike, but definitely a little bit right. Oh, that was a nice ball flight. This sounds really solid. You can definitely tell that they fine-tuned the sound and the feel this year. Okay, the story here was very much one of consistency. I was super impressed with just how consistent a lot of variables were here. The spin, the height, the ball flight, the shot shape, the dispersion were all really good. Now you can see from the dispersion here it is a little bit to the right, but I think personally for me that's just because I had my normal right path, but I was leaving the face a little bit open today. And to be honest, I don't really mind that because it was consistent throughout the shots. I didn't feel like I had the double miss. Sometimes with 3 woods out on the course, I don't necessarily play out my bag and I'll favour a hybrid because I feel like I could hit it both left and right. Where this, because the shot shape was so consistent, it would be really great out on the course to be able to manage that miss. Overall, my favourite thing about this had to be the feel. Honestly, this felt so good, probably one of the best 3 woods I've ever hit in terms of feel, and the consistency was so good as well, so I was kind of a little bit disappointed with the overall distance in the end. This averaged out at 202, which isn't really bad, but I just think when the driver's flying over 230, that's definitely a very big gap to have, and I also think I could get my 3 hybrid very close to this, so I'm not sure if it would have a place in my bag. Now the other variables with this 3 wood were just so good, and I never really see that consistency with a 3 wood. Typically it's one of the hardest clubs to put in the bag and one of the hardest clubs to play. So I'm kind of praying there's some way I could get this custom fit to go a bit further. Maybe I could go with a stronger loft here and maybe get a softer shaft that kind of helps balance that out. I definitely would love to play with that in a custom fit and see, because in terms of looks, feel, consistency, dispersion, this was ticking a lot of boxes. So I just need to see if I could maybe squeeze an extra 5 or so yards out of this. Or maybe I just need to hit the gym. Now this is a Mizuno review, so you might not be surprised that the standout factor here was definitely the sound and the feel. I absolutely loved this across the range. These have to be some of the best feeling woods I have tried this year. Now between the two there were slightly different stories in terms of performance. The driver was extremely long in terms of distance and definitely up there with some of the longest models I have tested this year. Whereas with the fairwood it was more about consistency, tightness of dispersion and overall control. After testing these 2 out today, I'm definitely considering putting these in my bag. Right, that's all for today. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments below or send me a line on Twitter or Instagram. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications too. And if you're after more golf content, head to the National Club Golfer social media channels for more.